Hi friends. Today's tutorial is going to be how to read your YouScience report. So YouScience is an aptitude assessment and interest inventory, which basically means what are you skilled at and what do you enjoy? The reason why we think it's a great idea to do this before we begin the whole college application process is that's exactly what colleges are going to ask you. What are you good at and what do you enjoy doing? And so this will give you a chance to do some reflection, look maybe a little bit more deeply into why you enjoy various things, and it'll be a great way to set you up for your applications this summer. YouScience also has a section where it will match you to a whole variety of careers based on how you did on different tests. And that's fun too. It's fun to look at, it's fun to think about, but it's also helpful for the college application process because you may come up with some ideas you had never had before, or it may just confirm what you already thought you might want to do. For each career, it lists what would be good majors. So if you have a couple of different things you're thinking of, you might want to make sure that any college you apply to has majors that would take you in either pathway. So let's look at a report. There we go. So when you get YouScience done, YouScience is about 10, I believe, brain games that you do. You don't have to do them all at once. When you do finish them up, YouScience will send this report to you. And it has some different categories that we'll look through. So let's start with your aptitudes. Aptitudes meaning what you are skilled at. And you'll find their wording is all really positive. Yours will say exactly the same thing because I think they know it's kind of a vulnerable thing to take this sort of assessment. And so everything's very positive when you get the results. You'll start with this little circle graph. This corresponds to the brain games that you did. And with each one of them, there's information that's in the little card to the left. So let's look at, you're a brainstormer, you can read about yourself. Then whenever you can, if you see an explore button, go further, go a little bit deeper and see what else they have to offer. So this is more about just what idea generation is, but it says what the results would show about you. It says, how would that impact your daily life? At work, at school? I put a little, I preferenced this one because it said, I should make sure that I have some classes that have small discussion groups, so I'm not always listening to lectures. Yours might say something similar, or it might say something entirely different. It also can say how this particular attribute works out in your social life, things that may be easy for you, things that may be difficult for you, tips for success, etc. So on each and every one of these, there's that kind of data that you can follow. It also talks about your personal approach, if you are more of a specialist, if you're more of a generalist, introvert or extrovert, whether you're kind of focused on the future or if you're focused on now. And there's a grid where you will show up. I am in this corner, but you can see what all of the different grids say. If you look down here, it says, what it says about this person. And then the types of work that interest you. This is the interest inventory part. Two people might love medicine, but if one person is very interested in working in a social way, in being helpful and supportive, that medicine person is likely to become a physician that works with patients. If somebody else loves medicine, but is more interested in investigative things, that person's more likely to become a lab worker. And so you can have the same interests, but the way that it plays out in various occupations, you're going to be happier in some settings than others. So that will work into the results as well. And then there's more brain games you can do at the bottom. So that page is fun, but the next page is where we start talking about careers. So as I said, certain careers will be brought up to say that they fit your aptitudes and your interests well. And there's like 500 of them here. And so I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see that the ones that are banded in green at the bottom say strong overall fit. Those are all ones that for your aptitudes and for your interests seem like they might be happy fits for you. You can see I've run out of green and now I'm down in blue, and the blue ones are good overall fits. It continues on until, you know, down at number 500 is one that a job that's not for you. And these can be filtered by how much schooling they need. And they can also be filtered by fit type. I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. But let's just look. I never thought of being an architecture professor. So let's see what we can see when we go on the architecture professor card. So we have the years of investment that you would have to, the educational investment, how many openings are projected, salary range, different majors. They have 8 of them at the bottom. A day in the life. So if I were to be an architecture professor, what would my life look like? What would a day be? You read that, see if it's interesting to you. The core tasks, the things that you would do on a regular basis. All of this is for you to look through and say, yeah, God, that sounds fun. I think I'd like to do that. Or, ooh, that's what that means? I don't like that job. Then you get to this kind of bouncing ball looking thing. This is how the job and you stack up together on all of the aptitudes that they assessed. And so you can see they aren't perfectly in line, but they follow a pretty similar path together. So that's why this came up for me. Then it asks how my interests match. That was the thing where I talked about being social, realistic, investigative. Again, this career matches me well. It should. It was the first one they listed for me. And then if that didn't sound quite like the right occupation, but that sort of area sounds interesting, you can look at related careers that you might be interested in. So engineering professor, business professor. You'll find that because social was my highest attribute, all of mine are professors, or most of them. I tend, because that's a job in that category. Yours will be more interesting. Beneath that is the how do you get there? Okay, I kind of like this. How would I become an architecture professor? It's going to take 7+ years. I'll need to get a doctorate most likely, maybe a master's, but most of them have doctorates. Here are majors. So here's the best majors you could go through, and they're slightly different. I could do architecture, but I could also do city or urban planning. I could do landscape architecture. There's all sorts of different majors that you may want to consider. You would, if you thought you wanted to do this as a job, you would want to make sure that whatever college you went to had at least one of these majors. Then we look down at expected job openings and salaries. So we see a map of the United States. The darker it is, the more likely they will need it. I don't know why Idaho all of a sudden needs a bunch of architecture professors, but they seem to want them. You can click on the state itself. If you look in Idaho's state, average growth rate for all careers is 6.5%. But for architecture professors in Idaho, it's 22.5%. So that's a growth industry. If you don't want to do it state by state, you can just look at the national average. Down here, overall, the national average is 9.4%. So still a growth industry, but not quite as much. And then where you would do your job. Where are these jobs? Clearly, since it's a professor, it would all be at colleges. So that is some information about a job I may or may not have ever thought about. If I like it, or I want to look into it further, I can save career. If I don't like it and doesn't sound like fun at all, I can unsave it. So I'm going to go back to the career page real quick and show you something you might enjoy. So this is my overall fit. As we've talked about, this is both your strengths and your passions. If we wanted to separate it out by just strengths or just passions, we could do that as well. So the aptitude fit, is just my strengths, what I'm supposedly good at based on the brain games we did. And if we just go by aptitude, I'm supposed to be a rocket scientist, which means they never saw me do calculus in high school. You'll see I have a lot of sort of engineering jobs in my aptitude fit, because according to the YouScience thing, that's what I was good at. But if we look at my interest fit, so take aptitude out and just what I'm interested in doing, it's all teacher jobs. Teacher and recreation therapist, social worker. I mean, the things that are much more kind of helping professions, because that's what feeds me. So it's kind of fun to look through the two of them. They say that your aptitudes are fairly fixed. What you're good at now is what you'll be good at in 10 years, but your interests change. So you may be interested in looking through the aptitude fit to open your mind to some things that you might be quite suited for that you just haven't really thought about yet. You can also put something in the search engine. So let's say I've always been interested in biology. And I push overall fit. Now, again, for me, mine's boring because it's just going to say teacher always. But for me, the only two really strong biology fit jobs are as a secondary school teacher and a middle school teacher. I'd be okay as a geneticist. I'd be fine, I guess, as an epidemiologist. But those are the fits that are strongest. So if you love biology, but you're just not quite sure in what direction you want to take it, it would be fun to look through and see which areas of biology might be the best fit for you. Okay, I'm going to go to the final card, and that's the describing you. Now, this is valuable for your college applications. And the reason is you are going to be asked to write about yourself. And you're going to be asked to write about yourself like in a nice way, like complimenting yourself. Colleges want to get to know you, and you want to come off with your best foot forward. And that's awkward to do. So if you look through this list of terms that describe you, these are all positive things based on your YouScience assessment that you can say about yourself. And somehow it's just kind of easier if somebody else comes up with it first. So YouScience has done that for you. So if I look through and I say, brings out the best in others, I would love it if that's true about me. I'll say it is. They say it is. So, okay, I could write about how I bring out the best in others. And maybe I'm also solution oriented. I can now think of essays that might have those values involved in them. Is there a story I can tell, or a bunch of little clips I can mention in which I've brought out the best in others and I've been solution oriented? It's now given me, the seed of an idea, something I can go with, and a lot easier than looking at that blank page saying, I don't know what to say about me. Here's a ton of things you can say about you. Further down, there's full sentences. So my work approach, it's shared success that pleases me. That's something I could end up, put it in your own words, but that idea is something that you could write about yourself. And if you scroll down, you can see just thing after thing after thing, ideas for how you can talk about you in a positive light that's authentic. And somebody else kind of came up with the words for you, so you can go with that and not feel stuck. So anyhow, that is basically YouScience. There is one more section on colleges. It's lame, sorry, YouScience. It's not related. What it should be able to do is look up the majors that you just found that were important and look for those majors. It doesn't have that capability. So save those majors, put them into your score account, and that's where we can end up looking for majors that might work for some of these careers that work for some of your attributes. Yeah, so that's YouScience. I tried to go quick. If you have any questions, please contact Liz or me. If you need a link resent to you so that you can perform your YouScience, please go ahead and let us know. And contact, you can sign up for conferences anytime. So miss you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.